Hello book lovers, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kay, and today I wanted to talk to you about all of the books that made me fall in love with reading. My reading history is interesting. As a kid going through elementary school, middle school, I honestly was not a big fan of reading. And I think it's because when you're going through the education system, you have these required readings. And anytime a book was required to me, I did not want to read it. As an adult, being a part of book clubs can be a little difficult for me because I'm not always feeling the book that is chosen. So honestly, growing up as a kid, that made me have a poor relationship with reading. In my personal opinion, I think kids should just be able to read whatever they want and not have required readings. But then again, I'm not an education person. However, I think people should read just because they want to read and really take the time to find the books they enjoy. A lot of the books that I have in here are from my adulthood. Within the past 4 years, I'd say, I have really fallen in love with reading. I've always been reading a book for the past 4 years. Even if it's taken me a minute to get through, I have constantly been reading. And so I just wanted to share with you, one, the few books that I did read in middle school and high school that made me fall in love with reading, but then the list of books that I fell in love with as an adult. They might not even be a 5-star rating for me, but these are the books that got me into reading. For starters, when I was in middle school, if you guys remember the Scholastic book fairs, I picked up Immortal by Gillian Shields. Now this is my original book. It's dented and falling apart. I have had this book for years. If you guys didn't realize, Mr. Zion is hanging out in the room with us, so he has some commentary today. But anyway, like, I have my maiden name written on the top of this. Like, this book is super yellow, but anyway, and I'm really sad because I recently looked this up on Goodreads and I want to reread this series just because I loved this so much. But I recently looked this up on Goodreads and it does not have good ratings, like, at all. And so that genuinely made me super sad. Maybe I will just think it's a 5-star in my heart. This is what introduced me to fantasy, elemental magic, romance. If I'm not mistaken, it has been years since I've read this and I want to reread it. This follows a girl whose dad is in the military and she gets sent to this boarding school. She discovers secret elemental magic. There's this little amulet and I don't remember the significance of this at all, but I just remember binging this book, and this was the first time in my life that I ever truly sat down and read a book and was in love with reading. This is one that maybe if you know a middle school age girl that struggles with reading and maybe would like to find something, this was a great starting spot for me. So this is Immortal by Gillian Shields. The next book, we're jumping to high school because I cannot remember the other books that I loved in middle school. The first was literally Anything by John Green. This book, so sad. This is like following Hazel and Augustus. I think they both have cancer and they both like fall in love. I don't know that I would read this book today as an adult because honestly, just that makes me very, very heartbroken, and I don't like to read stories that just make my heart break. Highly recommend anybody high school age that is trying to get into reading. Third book that I loved as a high schooler, it actually started with Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. After I read Tuesdays with Morrie, I actually picked up The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom, and I really love Mitch Albom. And this book is about this guy who dies, and it's following his journey after death, and it was about the story of these 5 people that he left an impact on in life. Whether he had a big meet with this person or maybe he was just passing by, he impacted these 5 people's lives in one way or another, and it's the story pretty much about how connecting with people, you never know the impact that you will leave on somebody. And it's a pretty small book, less than 200 pages. Now we're getting into adult childhood. 3 non-fantasy books. So the first ever murder mystery that I ever read was Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. So I am not a horror or gore type of person. But what I liked about Murder on the Orient Express, one, Hercule Poirot's, I never say his name right, Hercule Poirot, he is the detective. His sense of humor cracked me up, and I think this book is like 100 years old, you guys. Also, the murder, like the scene of the murder, was not graphic. It was not gory. I really enjoyed the banter of the people within this book, and well done. It wasn't anything that grossed or gave me paranoia or anything after I finished it. So Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express was my first toe being dipped into mystery. I would recommend this to anybody who has maybe never read mystery but just kind of wants to check it out a little bit. The next 2 books are historical fiction romances, and I need to read more historical fiction and more romances because these are 2 of my favorite books of all time. And I don't know why I have not picked up more historical fiction romances. The first one is The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Mary Ann Schaefer and Annie Barrows, January 1946. Writer Juliet Ashton receives a letter from a stranger, a founding member of the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, and so begins a remarkable tale of the island of Guernsey during the German occupation in a society as extraordinary as its name. So this follows an author, and she ends up receiving these letters from this book club, essentially. And this book is hilarious. It is the first book that ever made me like physically laugh out loud. I tabbed the heck out of this book, and the characters in this are just so unique and amazing and wonderful, but this is also the first book that had made me cry. So it's lighthearted, but it has very deep themes and things that happened during World War II. There is a Netflix movie of it, and the Netflix movie does not compare to the story, of course, but if you want to dip your toes into this, maybe watch the movie and then read the book, because that's what made me feel the courage to pick up this book, was watching the movie first. And I was like, wow, I actually really like this story, because I don't know, anything war related, I pretty much am hesitant to read because I hated history class in high school, and that was like my least favorite subject, my worst subject. But this book is one of my favorite books of all time. The next historical fiction book that absolutely has my heart is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers, and this is just reminding me that I want to pick up more books by her. I think I have 1 or 2 other ones on my Kindle that I need to pick up. This takes place in California during the gold rush time, and you are following Angel, and Angel was sold into prostitution at a very, very young age. This story follows Michael Hosea, who decides he is going to marry this prostitute. However, he is such a strong man of God in his faith, and he takes her in, and this is truly the story about how she becomes redeemed through her past, how Michael, it shows how he truly loves her even though it is such a battle, because she really struggles with this, with a lot of things that happen in her past, and rightfully so. Michael Hosea, you guys, he is like the ultimate book husband. Like, he is not book boyfriend, he is book husband material. Okay, we have Zion joining us. I can't say enough beautiful things about this book. It is just incredible and amazing, and I think it is a romance that even if you are not a Christian, you could really appreciate it. The depth of the love in this story between Angel and Michael is just incredible, and he is so patient and so kind. And Angel, she's just at such a battle with herself, and it's just a true story of redemption and hope, and I just love it. Like, it gives me chills just thinking about this book. Now we're getting into fantasy, which if you've been on this channel before, fantasy is my absolute favorite. First one, Harry Potter. I don't have to say too much about this. I will say this is the first book that I picked up in my adulthood that has launched my love for reading. It is a middle grade book. But as the story continues, I would say it definitely ends up kind of more young adult by the end. But Harry Potter, you guys, if you just don't know where to start and you're interested in dipping your toes into fantasy, it's an easy read. Yes, things are cheesy in this, especially if you're reading this as an adult, but this truly, truly launched my love for reading. The next middle grade is the only other middle grade that reached up to the level of Harry Potter for me, and that is Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. I need to continue and finish this series. I've only read this book so far. Morgan Crow is cursed. Born on Eventide, the unluckiest day for a child to be born, Morgan is blamed for all local misfortunes. And worst of all, the curse dooms her to die at midnight on her 11th birthday. But as Morgan awaits her fate, a remarkable man named Jupiter North, which we love Jupiter, Jupiter North appears, whisking her away into the safety of a secret magical city called Nevermore. It's in Nevermore that Morgan discovers that she must contend for a place in the city's most prestigious organization, the Wondrous Society. Morgan must compete in 4 dangerous trials against hundreds of other children, or she'll have to confront her deadly fate. This is a competition. It's so magical and whimsical, and Jupiter North he's just the man. We love Jupiter, and I would highly recommend reading this, especially if you loved Harry Potter. Now, this is not Harry Potter. It is nothing like Hogwarts or anything like that, or wizardry or anything like that. But I would say if you enjoyed Harry Potter, it is likely you would enjoy this too. So this one is just fun, and it just brings me those, like, I don't know, fuzzy wuzzy feelings. I just really loved Nevermore. And I cannot wait to read Harry Potter and Nevermore with Zion. The first young adult fantasy that I literally binged in the span of one day is Among the Beasts and Briars by Ashley Poston. So Ashley Poston, I think she has a super popular book right now, and it is called like The 7-Year Slip. I haven't read that, but I'm interested in it. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce these names right, so bear with me. But Ceres is safe in the kingdom of Aloria. Here, there are no droughts, disease, or famine, and peace is everlasting. It has been this way for hundreds of years, since the first king made a bargain with the lady who ruled the forest that borders the kingdom. But as Aloria prospered, the woods grew dark, cursed, and forbidden. Ceres knows this all too well. When she was young, she barely escaped as the woods killed her friends and her mother. Now, Ceres carries a small bit of the curse, the magic, in her blood, a reminder of the day she lost everything. As a new queen is crowned, however, things long hidden in the woods descend on the kingdom itself. Ceres is forced on a run, her only companion a small and irritating fox, which we love him, from the royal garden and the magic in her veins. It's up to her to find the legendary Lady of the Wilds and beg for a way to save her home. But the road is darker and more dangerous than she knows, and as secrets from the past are uncovered amid the teeth and roots of the forest, she's going to take everything she has just to survive. This is fast-paced adventure novel, and I would say there is a twinge of romance in here. But the characters you meet in this are lots of whimsical creatures, and I loved them so much. But I'd say just how action-packed and fast-paced this book is. My jaw was dropping throughout this book, and I just feel that not enough people have read this, and I need more people to read this book so I can talk about it with them. So that is Among the Beast and Briars. The last book, though it may be another cliche, is the first adult fantasy book series that I have ever read, and my heart is still just surrounded by the people in this, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I know. This is one of the most popular book series to date. But let me just say, the way Sarah J. Maas writes characters, I can't help but fall in love with them. They feel like family. I feel like they're my friends, and this series had me sobbing, laughing. This series had me feeling all of the emotions, and I am obsessed with the romance in these books. Now, I will say these are more adult, so there are some spicy scenes in these books, and personally, I'm not a huge fan of spice in books. I skim/skip past those scenes. I easily get secondhand embarrassment reading that kind of stuff, so just be warned that that is in this series. So that concludes the list of books that made me fall in love with reading, and I'm curious to know, what books made you fall in love with reading? Any stage in life, any season, I'm just curious to know. Any point in life when you've read a book and thought, man, this is what reading should be about. I want to know. So please leave that in the comments. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It really does help me out reaching other readers and other moms that love to read on this platform. Other than that, I will see you next week, and I hope you guys have a great day.